Invest funds have been on a tear over the last year. Its ARK Innovation Fund alone has more than quadrupled since the low we saw in March. And now founder and CEO Cathie Wood has her eyes set on a new theme for innovation. Jen Rogers sat down with Cathie Wood and brings us this interview. Jen, there's always a lot of attention on what Cathie looking at specifically because she has been so focused on a lot of these innovation names that have performed so well over the last year.
That's right. And as you said, she's done incredibly well. Her portfolio of thematic active ETFs raking in some 30 billion in inflows last year, 8 billion in January, returns above 100%. So she really made a name for herself early on crypto. And then it was that Tesla call. Tesla, her biggest holding, the Tesla call going to 4,000. Look, she turned out to be right on Tesla. She's now talking about her big ideas for 2021, and electric vehicles are still part of her thesis on innovation and disruption. That's one of the things we talked about.
If we're right, this market is going to go from 2.2 million sales, that's units, in 2020, it might be 2.3, to 40 million in 2025. So all of these announcements have increased our confidence that the capital markets are going to finance this transition from internal combustion engine to electric. That's great. Who is going to be leading the charge, so to speak? We still think it is Tesla, certainly in the United States. Even in China, Tesla is the #1 brand. Now, the smaller vehicles in China, there is a company, I've forgotten its name. It might be associated with SAIC and GM, by the way, that is pulling ahead, but that's not counted as a true electric vehicle. These are the ones that go 25 miles an hour, golf cart types of things. So we think that China might hold the secret as to the next big winners. We know that NIO, we do not own NIO, it's a battery swapping company. So instead of charging, they swap batteries. That is going to win the day. We think that XPeng, which we do not own, but which is emulating Tesla, might. We're seeing, and we do own in our more specialized strategies, BYD was a battery manufacturer to begin with, and Warren Buffett has owned for many years a piece of BYD. That has done very well. We own that. And then Geely, which bought Volvo, and I believe the chairman of Geely owns a position in Daimler. It is also doing a lot of interesting things in terms of partnering with various companies, including Baidu. So if I had to give you which of the Chinese names we have the highest conviction in, it's probably Baidu. And that had been a hard sell for me because their search business was falling apart. And it did seem to me, with more than 150 or 200 electric vehicle manufacturers, many being government subsidized, that there would be a bloodbath. And Baidu is, the government has deemed it the autonomous platform for China. We weren't sure whether to believe that or not, or if it would get caught up in the carnage, but it does seem to be doing something very interesting. And there's also another company called AutoX. This is more, they're working with Dongfeng, which is mostly involved in the trucking space. But we did take note that AutoX has gotten approval from California to go fully autonomous there. I didn't know that until very recently. So that could be another one to watch.
So Big Ideas 2021. First of all, I just want to remind people that all your research is on your website along with all your trades. I mean, everything is there, people. So you can go and click and read the whole thing. We're going to go through a couple more of the big ideas, though. And I want to talk about crypto. We've got number 6 and 7, Bitcoin's fundamentals and Bitcoin preparing for institutions. So, you've got a lot of fans in the crypto space. I want to know what you think here. And of course, Bitcoin, some people think, look, it's already hit its highs for 2021, the high water mark of above 40,000. What's ARK's thinking here?
We do not agree with that. And what's been interesting this time around is if you look at Google search trends for Bitcoin or Bitcoin's price against the Bitcoin price itself, you'll find that there's not a lot of speculative activity by that measure. In fact, in 2017, they were 1 for 1 together, but it has been pretty quiescent until maybe very recently, but throughout last year. And so that gave us a lot of comfort. We believe that the institutional behavior and moves recently have been fascinating. We have been expecting institutions to start moving into Bitcoin and other crypto assets, but primarily Bitcoin, the most secure of the blockchains, because if you look at the correlation of Bitcoin's performance relative to any other asset class, it has the lowest correlation, meaning if you buy some Bitcoin, you will further diversify your portfolio and increase your returns with lower risk, right? So that's why institutions look for that low correlation. Bitcoin has it. And so that's clear. We have 10 years of history now. But what surprised me and us generally was to watch MicroStrategy, which has put all the cash on its balance sheet into Bitcoin, and even did another equity offering so it could put more cash on its balance sheet. And I think that's a little crazy because I think the regulators will have something to say about this in terms of what is this? Is this company the MicroStrategy technology company, or is it like an ETF? So we don't know about that. But then you saw Square put 1% of all of its assets in Bitcoin. And I think you're going to see more of that. We didn't expect that. What we did expect was, because of the low correlation of returns, institutional investors to move in. The most surprising one to me thus far has been MassMutual. It put $100 million into its general account. Now, its general account is enormous. So $100 million is something like 0.001. But what that move told us is, MassMutual is very conservative and very highly regulated. And so it had to jump through many more regulatory hurdles than I thought would have been possible by now. So I think that is a seal of approval. And then, of course, you have the institutional infrastructure moving into place, whether it's with custody, and everyone knows a lot about Fidelity being out there in terms of wanting to custody Bitcoin in particular. You have the Intercontinental Exchange, and you've got the CME now with Bitcoin futures, one settling in kind, one settling in cash. And so we do believe that Bitcoin is getting ready for institutional. But when we actually think about this, is Bitcoin ready for institutions? Bitcoin is it's roughly a $600 billion market cap. So not even half the size of Apple or Amazon, right?
Yep.
Doesn't put it into perspective. And yet it is a very big idea. I think a much bigger idea than Apple or Amazon. It's the first truly global digital currency out there. And it is completely decentralized. There's no throat to choke. So unlike with Libra, you had Europe and the US and many countries saying, we'll never allow this. That's because there was one throat to choke. with Bitcoin, there's no throat to choke. And in fact, when China basically shut down the exchanges in China that dealt in crypto, especially Bitcoin, that activity just moved over to Japan, Thailand, and Korea, other countries that wanted to move ahead in this innovation space. They did not want to miss this next big thing.
So they have 15 big ideas for 2021. Aside from the two we just talked about, there is some healthcare plays in here, digital wallets, and also orbital aerospace and delivery drones. So you can read all of the research because Akiko, they give it all away. You can see all her trades and what she's moving into and out of. But it is interesting to get her take a little bit deeper on some of these big calls, and especially on Bitcoin. She says we haven't seen the high watermark for 2021.
Yeah, I mean, not just interesting to hear her takes, but they've actually performed quite well. So certainly worth checking that as well. Jen, thanks so much for bringing us that interview with Cathie Wood.